Hey everybody, this is AI with Dr. Craig, and I'm delighted to have Jon Laven with us, who's the founder of Snorkel, an incredible AI educational app. How you doing, John?
Doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me, Craig.
I really appreciate it. It's great for people to hear the origin story, the backstory of these cool AI tools that are coming out to help students learn and teachers teach. So how about you tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, I was a high school math teacher for about 10 years and here in Minneapolis, which is where I live, and also an instructional coach. And one of the things that I always wanted to be really true in my classroom was that class was about not just getting to the final answer, but really about student thinking and putting student thinking at the center of class discussion and what we were doing. Um, And so that's sort of what was the impetus to start Snorkel is a friend of mine was a software engineer, and we started talking about some ideas to capture student thinking in some really rich ways by allowing students to record their thinking. And it actually started originally, the idea was around students were going to record their thinking and they were going to listen to each other's thinking and give each other feedback. And we actually have that currently in the platform. Teachers or students can do that. But timing wise, it was right around the time that AI was becoming really popular, APIs were being released, and we recognized the power of layering on AI to really analyze and give feedback to students instantly and then give teachers insights, and that sort of unlocked a whole new possibility for us. So yeah, that's how we got started is through that background in the classroom.
So I think one of the fears that educators have is that AI will replace me. And my perspective is looking at different tools and opportunities and capabilities is that it will incredibly enhance what we do. What do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that the complexity of teaching is so immense, and I just can't imagine that there's ever going to be an AI tool that's going to be able to connect with students in the way that a teacher can, um, motivate and care for students in the way that a teacher can, and make some of those in the moment decisions that teachers can. But really, what we hope to do is provide teachers with a tool that allows for every student in the room to get some instant feedback, and then
Mm,
allows for teachers to see those instant insights. But then teachers take the next step, right? So we collect that student work, we summarize what's happening, but then really pass it back to the teacher because we think there's really important instructional decisions that need to be made by the teacher there.
mm.
Certainly think there's always going to be a role for great teachers in the classroom.
Tell us about the vision for Snorkel and your team.
Yeah. Well, as far as in the future or where we're at right now, I
Where
can
you
do
see
both.
where you want it to go, and then the team you have right now who's involved.
Yeah. So a large number of our founding team is former educators. My co-founder and I met teaching um, back in the day in Las Vegas. He was a elementary school teacher. I was a high school math teacher. And so really important to us and really central to what we're always want to do is really support teachers with a tool that fits really well into their classroom practices
Mm,
and really centers and supports student learning. You mentioned like there's I think a teacher fear around being replaced by AI. I think
mm,
the other teacher fear that often comes up in talking to folks over the course of this past year is around AI replacing student thinking.
mm,
And I think really at the heart of what we're trying to do is not replace student thinking, but center, uplift, support student thinking because we invite students to record and share their thinking. And then the AI
mm,
piece doesn't come in until after students have done that hard cognitive lift and supports them to maybe they make corrections or things like that, but really want to allow students to showcase and center and be proud of their thinking. So I think that piece is really central to our vision of who we are. We do that through a multimodal tool where students can record, and so we also think student voice and student explanations are really powerful and important. We think that unlocks something for students as far as they get to now take ownership over the math or the science or whatever they're explaining and talking through. But also that unlocks something in terms of what teachers can see. Just allowing teachers to see and understand how all their students are thinking about things is important because
mm.
great instruction is informed, I think, by knowing what your students know and what they don't know yet, and being able to support them in that way.
Absolutely. I love that John Hattie's work around visible
Yeah.
learning. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
Definitely. John Hattie's, I think, a big inspiration of mine as well. Um, and as far as in the future, we're really excited to keep building and growing off of this idea. So one of the things we're doing right now is we're adding lots of content to our content library of pre-created materials. We're adding the ability to tag items to standards. And sort of the vision around this is that there's going to be a really, really rich tool available for teachers to identify trending errors over time, standards mastery over time, and really track and make student thinking, again, more visible at the teacher level, at the student level, and then also at the school level. And so we're supporting school leaders with additional tools to sort of capture that holistic view of what's happening in student learning across the school.
I love it. Well, should we jump into it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. Let me pull up my screen here and share. Yeah. So our homepage is at snorkel.app, and teachers can sign in there and they can create a free account and play around. And inside it, once teachers have signed in, we organize Snorkel by classes, and teachers can assign different activities to their students in their classes. So what a Snorkel activity looks like for a student is they sign in with their Google or Microsoft account, and they sign into their Snorkel. And once they're in, they see a question or a prompt from their teacher on the whiteboard. And so teachers can put any type of content that they want on here. We actually started in math and science, but now Snorkel actually supports all subject areas, K through 12. But really have a lot of usage, especially in math, and that's my background is in the math classroom as well. Um, Students then can capture their thinking, so they've got tools to draw, to highlight, to type out text, insert equations. They can upload an image. And then at the heart of it, we want to encourage students to go further and actually explain. And so when students are ready, they press this purple record button, and Snorkel begins capturing both their verbal explanation, but also visually what they're showing on the whiteboard. So a really rich opportunity to understand student thinking. So I'll demo this here real quick, and I'll actually make a quick recording just so you can see what happens on the back end afterwards. So here in this problem, it says that we've got a rectangular frame with a length of 29 centimeters. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to label one of these sides 29. And I know that the opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So I'm going to label this opposite side also 29. 29 plus 29, that adds up to 58. And I'm going to subtract that from the total here of 146. So 146 minus 58 gives me 88. And let's just say I think that's the final answer. I think the width of this frame is 88 centimeters. Obviously, I got that wrong, but you could definitely see how a student could make that mistake or any other number of mistakes throughout that process. And what makes Snorkel really unique is now when the student presses submit, the AI is going to analyze both their verbal explanation, but also visually what they've shown on the whiteboard. And it's going to provide personalized, time-stamped feedback on that response. So it's going to be unique to my strategy. It's going to tell me if I got it right or wrong. It's going to give me a score on a 0 through 4 rubric on how strong my explanation was. And then again, that personalized feedback. Our goal here is always to be encouraging to students, so praise what's going well in their thinking, and then prompt them with questioning and support to help them take the next step or figure out what went wrong. So on the right-hand side here, I got this incorrect. I still got a 2 out of 4. I think this is quite unique to Snorkel. There's so many programs, especially in the math space, where students get a question wrong, right? It's all wrong. They got a red X, and here you get to watch someone else do it.
Good point.
Right? We think that our students have rich thinking worth celebrating, even if they get things wrong. And so here I still get a 2 out of 4 because I got a lot of great things going on. I get praise on and recognition about the parts in my thinking that are correct. Again, more praise. And then I get a little bit of feedback. Your final answer is not correct. You found that the sum of the two widths is 88, but what should you do to find the length of one width? And so students get that support. And always our goal is to try to prompt students with questions in the way that a great teacher would if they could sit down with every student one-on-one every day.
Mm,
Students
awesome.
can listen to that feedback read aloud to them, and then they can actually use that feedback, and they can press that respond again button, and they can actually use that feedback right away to re-record and improve their responses. And one of the things we hear over and over and over again from teachers is they're really impressed by and sort of amazed by how often students are doing that without even being prompted to, which I think is special, right? I think so often feedback is either immediate but not very personalized, or it's personalized but it takes 3-4 days for your teacher to get back to you. And I think Snorkel's a
Mm.
rare combination of both immediate and personalized.
Does it remember what you did before? So if the student cranks up a new blank
Great question.
example.
Great question. It is not tracking that student over time currently. The model is each submission is its own distinct submission. Students can choose to pick up with their previous whiteboard work if they want, or start over with a blank whiteboard. But each one's its own standalone piece.
So if they choose previous whiteboard and have another go on the same whiteboard, will Snorkel pick up that they've made modifications and then say it's correct?
So it will pick up on whatever they record this time. It's not going to connect it back to their previous recording.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd have
So
to erase the 88 or continue on to divide by 2 or something to get it.
here I'd want to continue on and make sure I do that last step. So really rich practice for students, getting them again into the sort of deeper conceptual understanding, supporting them to explain. We also think this is really valuable for students who are developing language proficiency. Obviously, some really rich elements of supporting that here by having them explain. If a student speaks a different language, Snorkel accepts over 50 different languages. Students can record in those different languages. They can also get feedback in those different languages.
Love it.
And then on the teacher side, there's just a lot of rich things happening here, but just two really quick things I want to show. On the teacher side, teachers get to see all these artifacts from student thinking across their class. The AI is automatically categorizing it for teachers. Teachers can, of course, jump in and review individual pieces of student work. And then we also leverage AI to analyze the class as a whole. And this is what I referenced earlier on, which is the Insights tab. So the Insights will show teachers trends from across the class. And so it will highlight for me, here are my top exemplars from across the class. And then here are some of the trending errors and mistakes that my students are making and who's making them, so that I know who I might follow up with to pull for small groups, or where I might need some further instruction. And this is that piece of around, like, we're doing a lot of valuable work, right? Trying to make that feedback and collection of data process easier. But then we hand it back to teachers because there's still a really important role for teachers to play in this process, and figure out how to best support those students moving forward.
I love that it's analyzing the mistakes or the errors and categorizing the students so that they can be grouped. Does Snorkel ever generate its own next best steps?
Great question. Yeah, it's something we've experimented with a little bit, and I think we definitely will in the future. Yeah, right now it's just identifying, trying to pinpoint those mistakes and give a descriptive explanation of those mistakes. But certainly, instruction next steps is sort of a logical place to go next, and so it's something we've begun experimenting with.
I can imagine that a student who's never explained their mathematical thinking before, becoming more confident and practiced at explaining the steps and the concepts of why they're doing it, learning how to actually explain the steps and the process logically, clearly, succinctly, and accurately is quite a powerful thing beyond actually getting the question answer right.
Definitely. I think seeing this with my own students as well, one of the things that happens oftentimes is, when students are explaining, they're far more likely to catch their own mistakes. And so that in and of itself is just
Mm.
like a great exercise and practice for them to engage in. And then B, I think the act of having to explain really helps to encode that in their long-term memory. Again, they're taking ownership of that knowledge, and really helps encode it in a different way. That's really powerful.
Is there any data in there for teachers to go, Craig tried this 4 times and then he got it right, and I can see that he was grouped into this particular type of error, but then he moved into this group and then he moved into success?
Yeah, so on that student screen, we do show how many attempts a student has made. And so you'll see in the bottom corner here, like Brandon has tried this twice. It's
Right.
currently showing the best try, but I could change this to the latest try.
Mm.
And from there, you can access people's different attempts. And then we are currently in the process of building some new data dashboard tools that will show progress over multiple assignments over time and give you a better sense of some of that progression that's happening, and improvement that's happening over time with students as well.
So I'm thinking about resilience and the lack of resilience that we're seeing in schools, and lack of
Mhm.
persistence, which leads to mental health or a sense of well-being, and the opportunity for teachers to zero in on, you got it right, and also I can see that you tried this, you tried that, and you persisted until you got it right, or you asked for help and then you got it right. That celebrating persistence and resilience to get up and go again.
That's huge. Yeah, we want to celebrate that willingness to try over again,
Hmm.
and growth over time. There is one of the features in here that we've built, and I think we have a lot of great things that can still come out of this. Is there's a portfolio view on the student side. So students have their individual assignments, of course, in their classes, but they also have a collection of all of their great work. And so they can look back on and reflect on maybe where they've grown over time. And actually, eventually, I think we're going to make it so they can actually highlight and star and share and celebrate those in different ways.
Right. Tell us about the ways that teachers can access and schools can access Snorkel, whether it's a school deal, an individual deal, a free deal. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So snorkel.app is our website, snorkel.app. You can go there and teachers can create a free account right now. We have a freemium model, so teachers can go in there, sign in. You can even try this out with your students on that free account. Oftentimes, schools need to set up Google Trusted Access, but it's very simple to do, and we're happy to sign any data protection agreements with schools. Student privacy is really important to us, and so we do a
Mm.
lot to make sure that that is protected and safe. Um, and then as far as school accounts, we are actually in the middle of launching a big first year Snorkel sort of getting started experience where we're really excited to partner with new schools and new districts and give them some awesome discounts on pricing for their first year to join us and try this out. And so you can sign up for a demo on our website or request a quote, and we're happy to talk to you and show you a little bit more. But yeah, we're really excited to spread the word and to grow.
John, thank you so much for your time and congrats on the app.
Thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate it.